Yeah, some other girls call it kia kia la, but they're just weird. Continuing right from where we left off last week, Minamo had just transformed for the first time, and while she didn't launch herself up into the stratosphere like certain other first-timers, she did something a little more entertaining, at least for me, some lampshading. I mean, nowadays, it's not uncommon for them to be one and the same. Also, am I the only one who can't disassociate Hiroshimono's voice from Zenitsu, especially when he plays the straight man in these sorts of shows? Anyway, we also got the proper opening for the show, and yeah, it was really good. For starters, I did like some of their choices for stylizations, like this part where in the song they start whisper singing, they have a bunch of cuts mostly showing the mouths of the three main characters to give off the impression that they were whispering directly to the viewer. There was also little touches like cuts where the characters put on some more comedic faces, which was pretty much whenever Nagase was leading the charge. Speaking of which, this opening did effectively get across the personalities of our leads. Probably my favorite sequence, yes, even more so than the Sakuga fight near the end, was here where the princesses were singing individually and we could really read into their personalities just by their body language, like how they walked or ran in Nagase's case. Yeah, if anything, this opening has really made me excited for her eventual debut. But yeah, going back to that fight sequence near the end, it was also really good and clean as hell, as most of it was just one continuous tracking shot with all the princesses getting involved in some way and dodging a barrage of lasers before Minamo delivered a dropkick that featured all of her legs. I've heard that the sequence was likely done by a veteran animator named Koji Ito, who specializes in mech anime like Gundam and Macross, which I can certainly see, especially with the latter with all of that beam spamming. All in all, just a really good opening with a banger of a song, which is gonna be kind of commonplace for the show. Unfortunately though, openings are often previews of what's to come, and not necessarily the present, as Minamo was about to struggle against the scrubs of the show. I mean, sure, she managed to tank their attacks like a certain other aquatic-themed character, but she also couldn't deliver. Actually, funny thing I've heard about that fighting style, it actually kind of came about by accident, as Kanade's VA actually got her lines mixed up, so she thought she was supposed to sing during her first fight. Best accident ever. But yeah, after getting laughed at by the grunts, which was low-key actually one of my favorite moments of this episode, Kaguri's superhero landed in and dealt with the baddies. And while she did sing the same song again, I did like how they varied it up in this battle with her voice cracking at different points, which would happen if you're punching a little harder at certain beats. Anyway, Shimono Bunny, aka Naville, inspected Nachi and found nothing wrong with her, just ignoring her dead eyes from the last episode, but we'll explain that more later. With that, the princesses de-transform, with Kaguri revealing herself to the noob. Yeah, paper bag. But yeah, I guess she just kind of trusted Minamo with her secret identity, even though she seemed a little standoffish at first. Not complaining, mind you, as I'm guessing she was just worried that Minamo and Nachi might get involved into trouble again, which they did, but at the same time, I guess she's not going to be a toast boss in the show, and will accept help when it's given. That said, she did give Minamo the standard don't reveal your secret identity shtick, which you think most people would know is a thing for superheroes by this point. Yeah, not quite as much these days, and you can thank Disney for that. Also, y'all could have gone to a more secluded spot, like they actually showed a couple of passerbyers to almost emphasize the fact that they were out in the open. Elsewhere, we got a brief glimpse at our villain's HQ. Hey Siri, describe tryhard in one image. I mean, don't get me wrong, I actually do like to see the villains interact with each other and establish some of their goals and ideals, but not only was this pretty minimal setup, it was also just laughably edgy to the point that I think the Sims from the Choki gang come off as tougher. Back with Minamo, she was left with a very understandable conundrum, as Nachi still wanted to proceed with her dream of becoming a diva like Kaguri, which Minamo wanted to cheer her on, but she also knew that she could become a target for the Jamork again. Ultimately, she did do the responsible thing by trying to discourage her, but you can't just easily convince someone to give up on their dream like that. And besides, what are even the odds that she'll be attacked again by the same guy and...
いや、知らんけど。そもそもなんで男の人がレズビアンに?
Oh, come on, girls. It's 2025. They should be able to identify as whatever they want. Though, that adult thing probably should bar him, in spite of what some people might say. But yeah, Bess here unleashed the Jamork and revealed the main mechanic behind their monsters. They absorb what's called Mujikara, or as I'll call it, musical life, which was your typical magical girl terminology for just plain old life energy. Like, really, it's not just Kya la, it's also Heart Flowers, Nico energy, or, just plain old motivation. It's the energy you try to build up in the morning and maintain until the end of the day with varying success. Granted, that energy does need to convert into musical life when girls go to this world, so they would actually be safer if they just stayed at home. Because for the Jamork, they basically acted as steroids and turned them into proper monsters of the week and asked for the victim. Welcome to the club, Nachi. But yeah, I guess that's what also happened to her last week. Though the big difference here was that rather than spreading it thin amongst a bunch of weaker mooks, Bess wised up and decided to just put it all into one guy. It's an interesting mechanic, as I do like it when the foot soldiers are upgradable like the ones in Geki Ranger. But yeah, after laying all of this from the exposition bunny, Minamo realized what she was lacking compared to Kaguri, and more importantly, what she could do for her friend. Thus, when Kaguri told her to take cover, she kotowaru'd. Because while she didn't want to stand out or take the spotlight away from anyone, she also wanted to make sure that those same girls wouldn't lose their ability to even stand on their respective stages. With that, her resolve as a princess was solidified, as was her transformation sequence. Yeah, thankfully, last week was indeed an omitted version of Ripple's full transformation sequence here, which was done by Kohei Kobayashi, a pretty up-and-coming animator who's done mostly stuff for Bofuri and Spy Family. In this case, I think he took a little influence from both, of course with the magic of the former's fantasy setting, and the latter's playful nature, with Minamo kind of turning into Anya here. As a result, we got a sequence that actually felt like a proper transformation. I mean, I really like it when elements don't just puff into existence, but rather form on the costume itself. In this case, while the base leotard did kind of magically appear on Minamo, stuff like her scarf and skirt actually formed around and seemingly grew out of it. Sequences like that are both really cute and pretty damn creative. Moreover, I like the little touch that we got to see her normal hair grow out before it turned blue, again emphasizing that this is her transforming, and not just like, say, putting on a cosplay wig. There's just a ton of little details and cuts that I really liked here, but I think I've said enough, other than this is probably one of my favorite magical girl transformations of recent memory. And with that, Minamo had a great first fight, which of course was made even better by her song, Innocent Call, which very effectively got across her motivations of wanting to protect other people's dreams as though they were her own, as she had built up the resolve to do so. And with her friend's dreams on the line, she managed to pull off some very impressive gymnastics, and after getting a little help from Kaguri, she launched into her finisher, which, while not involving tying a monster down to a chair to force him to listen to your song before delivering an over-the-top explosion, we did at least get another sequence from Koji Ito. And throughout this, I almost get the feeling like the directors had to constantly remind him that he wasn't animating for Gundam with how much insane detail he just put into the wand conversion sequence. Still, it did look really damn cool, and some of these shots were just gorgeous. My favorite was probably right here, where Minamo was gathering up all the water like a spirit bomb, while doing the most epic JoJo pose she could do. It's just a beautiful sequence that admittedly does go on a little long, likely so that they can match up with the song, but I'm not gonna complain when there's not a single bad frame to be found, and everything here feels like it's going in a proper sequence. With that, they defeated the monster and got their first MacGuffin of the show, which already is better than the Idol Pretty Cure's ribbons, as at least the bunny wasn't twerking after they got it. Later, after recovery, Nachi admitted that she had been kind of rushing into her dreams a little too quickly and recklessly to the point that she might have taken advantage of Minamo's encouragements. Like, even if she hadn't been attacked by the Hot Topic reject, she was kind of pushing herself to the point of exhaustion, and in turn worrying her friends, which would ultimately make her dream of making everyone happy kind of pointless. And in a good little bit to show that she's not just a blind follower, Minamo agrees that Nachi needs to take things a little easier. With that, the episode ended with Nachi deciding to take things a step at a time and reaffirming that her friend would be her eternal fan. We then got the ending theme for the show, which I'll outright say is my favorite song of the series so far. It was sung by the three main princesses of the show, and while the animation was kind of basic of them just running after the rain had stopped, which is a pretty cliche bit in many anime ending themes, the song was just nothing short of pure ear candy for me with how powerful and triumphant it sounded. I honestly cannot wait for the full version of this. This was a great follow-up to the first episode of this little series. It effectively got across a lot of the basic world building for how our protagonist and antagonist power sets worked, and put it on full display with some great animation. Oh yeah, and the music was awesome, but again, producers of Symphogear, was there any real doubt? As a new Magical Girl IP, I cannot praise this anime enough for putting their best foot forward in terms of their presentation at least. The fights have all been incredibly solid and matched well with the amazing music of the show. Again, this thing was meant to be Symphogear for all ages, and they did manage to get that across in the presentation with no real compromises, for now at least. That said, obviously, they're not going to be quite as adult as the Gears, either with their risque stuff or some of their deeper storylines, but that doesn't mean the story here is bad so far. Yes, it's still pretty basic, and the villains so far are just a bunch of mysterious edgelords, but some of the concepts, like how they create monsters of the week, is solid, and of course the main characters have been quite likable. Minamo has been a very amiable lead who has a lot of potential for growth, while Kaguri has remained surprisingly forward-thinking. Again, I was kind of expecting her to go down the Tsubasa path of being needlessly antagonistic, but no, she just didn't want to risk putting them in danger, and now that Minamo is a full-on princess, she's welcoming her because really there's no reason to deny the help. It all makes for a solid basis going forward, as overall, the second episode has really sold me with just its great animation and even better music. Needless to say, and while I have nothing against the idol cures, I think I know which OST I'm going to try to buy the first chance I get. It's just a pity that I won't be able to buy those singles as they won't be out this week when I go to Japan, but I've got other things I want to check out. But yeah, as I said yesterday, the reviews for Princession and Idol Pretty Cure will be delayed next week, and Gav will have to be delayed by 2 weeks since I won't be able to work on it tomorrow. Still, do expect an Ojama Shotoremi review this Wednesday, and then the following Wednesday, we'll play a little catch up with these reviews. So, look forward to all of that. Until then though, for now my friends, and if you'll excuse me, Nara Park awaits.